You're gonna have to send this to.
Yeah, I'll have everything set up for you.
I almost got my whole suit.
Yeah, I gotta get that fancy. I gotta go to a computer.
Get a watershed map. Oh, yeah, and I just include that in everybody, so nobody's due
Okay.
next year. And then this is just. that. Oh, you can wait and see if I can get
Yeah, I
on.
was just double checking to make sure you get on.
Yeah, it's been acting weird the past couple months. I can't always get on. Whoop.
What's this? Is that the?
That's the watershed.
Cause it's like a wide.
All right.
Awesome.
Yeah, but like I said, we need to keep an eye on it. If nobody signs into it, I want to shut off.
Okay.
So it'd just be one of those things you just tell it to keep going.
Yeah, sometimes Brian will come in on it.
Yeah, if he
And
signs in
that
on it,
helps.
then you don't have to worry about it.
You got enough things to do.
That's where I think. Yeah, that's my house right here.
Or Wagner Lake. Wagner Lake is down. Right. Okay.
Right here.
Raymond, you want it? Sorry, but here's, I just move it.
Great morning.
This is for after.
Mary, you have an extra home on
I sure do. I have a couple. Is our hearing we had in July. And this is the drainage board meeting before that. So they both need time.
Got approved, be approved.
Yeah, after today, it'll be, you're voting on it today.
This right here.
And you're gonna be voting on both of them, I correct?
Good.
The last hearing
Yeah.
and the last meeting, right?
We can, you want to. That's
But we
I
didn't-
can't sign up for you.
No,
Either.
we can't vote, we didn't have a meeting on the first meeting of November, the election.
Back here on what is
So our last meeting was the last
tree line
meeting.
comes along.
There's October 20th.
Yeah.
Right, that's
So
our
we got
last
to, we
meeting.
got to approve the session.
Yeah, you'll be approving it, and then this will start a special session.
Just approve it.
Right. Right, I just want to make sure you knew what you were signing.
Chairs, Joe, keeps going down.
Buy some new ones. They're Walmart.
Yeah.
You get what you pay for.
I had a problem.
Yeah, after this, I move this, I'm gonna start laying it down.
$5,000.
That way you don't have so much.
The love puts it in or pull it out.
Oh, yeah. I don't think this goes down.
I can hear it. Yeah, I knocked some trees over at the pond.
These leather chairs are like that.
There's two of them, yeah.
And to go up. Now, go down. figure it out.
Did you get
This problem all figured out.
where's buildings to us?
I thought I did, I thought I just wrote it out, like, I just.
Well, we had a problem down there.
You have to-
We let him go ahead.
Yeah, I thought that's
And
what
we
it
can
read.
do it for the fee, we have to. But if, some stage, we're gonna have to lay out the field. Probably come through the wall. Down there on the corner. What's his name? Bill Building right on. Go on across. He didn't have no place else.
Well, I already had the stone laid in there.
I mean, he tried to work with, it.
Well, rather than minutes a year.
Not working in such a way.
Yeah. Yeah, we're married.
Went to get a Band-Aid, should be right back, said don't start that.
They were back upstairs.
No, it's still department.
She was in the elevator, I yelled at her in there.
Pull it out.
There you go.
Hydraulics on this, maybe 3 weeks, so that may be. We got a few other things.
There's a lever under there, push it in. Yeah. So that,
He got it,
I got it.
it'll go in and out.
Yes, sir.
It's about,
He just has some property on South. I saw his name and I wondered who he was related to.
that's wrong. Ron's got two boys. And then Wendell. Kevin. Doug Farm. Doug's. Doug's Farm. Wendell.
I'm just trying to get my case straight.
He's married to Wendell's sister. Doug's married to Wendell's sister.
Doug.
Nancy.
Doug's mother is
Wendell's sister, okay.
Okay.
We ready to go to work?
Don't feel bad because I tell you what,
It's hard to
I
keep
can
track.
meet them in Walmart, and don't think I can.
Sure. All righty. We will call the Grant County Drainage Board to order November the 29th, noting 4 of 5 members present. We do have quorum. Mr. Pinkerton is absent today. Before we move into our agenda, for those who will be speaking at the public hearing on Hummel Creek, we would ask that you make sure you sign in your name, your address, so that we have a record of that. The other thing is when you step up to share your objections and or your positive lean toward the assessment, we ask that you speak loud. We have just one speaker microphone that picks up the entire room, but we need you to speak loud when you do talk. So we appreciate you noting those items. All right, on the agenda, we have 2 sets of minutes.
October 25th,
October 25th is the first set,
yeah. I'll make a motion.
right? Motion to approve the October 25th minutes as presented. I believe we were here. Richard was
I
not.
was not. Gordon was and Mark.
I'll second motion.
Motion, Mr. Cage, second, Mr. Goff. Any questions on that? Hearing none, all those in favor would say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those abstaining,
Abstain.
carried 3 to 1 abstention. All right, and we have a special session as well.
That's the next one. Make a motion,
And the date on that is November 10th or
November 10th.
November 10th.
Second that.
And second by Mr. Goff. Questions concerning those minutes? Hearing none, all those in favor, would say aye. Aye.
Gordon.
And those abstaining,
Abstain.
carried 3 to 1 abstention. So we have our minutes. We have 2 batches of claims. Jim, if you'll walk us through the first batch.
Cut above tree service, $9,600 on Back Creek, $102,376 in the fund. This was a log jam and dead tree removal from Second Street Bridge to Pearl Street Bridge in Jonesboro. John's Repair Service, $8,772.50 on Little Crane Pond ditch, $42,003 in the fund. John's Repair Service, $25,450 on Little Crane Pond. L&W Cates, $10,272.58 on Cart Creek Tile, $27,538 in the fund. Grant County Treasurer, $945. Drains that need a loan from General Drain Improvement Fund. In your construction, $7,000 on the Sweetser and Enoch Lee, $70,211 in the fund. In your construction, $735 on the Sweetser and Enoch Lee. And in your construction, $732.50 on Luger Creek, $190,549 in the fund. In your construction, $15,000 on Luger Creek. Again, there's $190,000 in the fund. This is log jam removal. Cook Excavating, $934.50 on 10 Mile Ditch, $6,987 in the fund. Cook Excavating, $1,440 on Pipe Creek, $137,092 in the fund. Cook Excavating, $830 on the Winger Ditch. It's a tile, $14,364 in the fund. Another bill, this is another farm land, $1,158 on the Winger. Again, there's $14,364 in that fund. Peerless Printing, $73.45 for office supplies, $175 in the fund.
Questions on those claims, gentlemen? Entertained a motion to pay.
Move we pay these claims.
Motion, Mr. Cox.
I can't, I haven't voted on the Back Creek.
Okay.
So we would take it out.
Yeah, I missed that.
I move we pay all these except the Back Creek. We'll do it separate.
Motion, Mr. Cox, second, Mr. Cates. All but Back Creek. All right, all those in favor would say aye.
Aye.
Aye, it is carried unanimously. Let's do that Back Creek one.
I move we pay this claim, Back Creek.
Motion, Mr. Cox, second, Mr. Cates. All those in favor would say aye.
Aye.
Aye, those abstaining.
Aye.
Carried 3 to 1 abstention. And then we have one more batch.
Chronicle Tribune, $17.34 on Hummel Creek. And Chronicle Tribune, $46.58 on Hummel Creek. And Drew Simmons and Borum, $1,540 on Hummel Creek.
We have those, and Richard needs to abstain on that.
I'll make.
Second.
Motion, Mr. Cates, second, Mr. Goff. Any discussion on those? They're fairly recent in our mind. All those in favor would say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those abstain. Carried 3 to 1 abstention. Very good. We have paid our bills. Under old business, no updates on the Little Crane Pond east of Miller Avenue. That's in the city limits of Marion, Hummel Creek. We had a special session on that. Solar ordinance, we're still waiting on any future discussion, so we're ready to go to new business. We have Crane Pond Ditch, Jared Purdom, did I say that right? Yes. If you would come and present again your name, your address, and your concerns or comments on the easement issue.
Yeah, it's Jared Purdom, address 1488 East Crane Pond. We've actually got two lots right there, one on the county ditch and one on the city maintained ditch that comes in from the other side. Trying to see if we can move that easement from a 75-foot easement back to a 25. Is where those two ditches meet is in my backyard. The city ditch 25, county ditch 75. And I'm not entirely sure what we need 75 feet into my yard to do anything with. It's that one seemed like a big common sense issue to me that I've got an open field on the back side of both of my lots. Why was work done on a residential side to destroy my trees, my property, when the other side could have been as easily taken care of with I believe it's $43,000 in the maintenance fund. The bid went out originally to the Braggs. The Braggs came back with 50,000. Obviously, that one was not accepted. It went to another one that was 35 to 40. That one wasn't accepted. It went to the contractor now for 25. So there was another $14,000 to be able to even put something down to get to the other side of that ditch, clean that side out, and then do what we need. But instead, we wrecked my backyard and wrecked my trees. I spoke with Wendell about this face to face probably 2 months before it happened. He assured me that there was no chance that they were going to mess with my trees. And unfortunately, I was in Louisville when I got a phone call that said, "Hey, why are all of our trees coming down?" So I came home to an absolute mess in my backyard. So that's been my biggest problem is I don't want to see this happen again. When somebody else decides, "Hey, let's come in here and let's take 75 feet now," for what reason? So it's just, that's been my biggest thing is why on the common sense side of things, you got an open field. Why did you not go through the field instead of coming through my yard? Clearly I'm the only person here that cares enough about my own property. Because all the other neighbors are not sitting here at this time. They've all voiced their concerns to me, but obviously I'm the only one standing here. So that's the only thing I'm asking is to have that easement reduced from 75 to 25, just to prevent any further destruction.
And I thought Wendell was going to be here. Wendell is in support of this easement reduction for this gentleman. The reason the other side wasn't picked is because we've talked about it, the path of least resistance. If you move to the other side, you're clearing a lot of trees, and there was a property line, a fence line that was right in that other side. The other lots, it's just always been the path of the least resistance. We've got a path now to bush hog and keep the brush down, an access path. But right behind the few trees, just a few couple feet that got left, the 75 foot went way into his yard. He would like to plant some pine trees so you have some privacy. I'm not opposed to the 40 feet for this lot. Wendell supported it and told you out there that he was okay with it.
Yes,
But I thought it
to
was
25,
25
to
feet.
25. We measured out to 25.
Oh, is that what you
Yeah,
meant?
we were gonna go with 25. So we measured that out. I think that was the day that you guys were out. And we measured to 25, and that's what we agreed on was 25.
Okay.
Sufficient to where I could
I guess I
trees.
missed that. I thought
There was
that's going to give us room to get through on his side. We still have the 75 feet on the other side. The other side was sloped. It had a property line. We met that landowner too. And we had a property line that went into a hill, but that was the reason that you lost out on this.
I'm against the 25 feet. That's not enough area to work.
I have to.
And the other thing, you plant the trees, and if they need to work, you're probably going to be our trees. They're actually your trees. You're putting you're putting trees in our easement. And if it needs work, we've got to deal with the trees, and if they blow into the ditch, I expect you want the drainage board to clean up trees.
I would have never thought to even come to the drainage board other
Well,
than,
we've had it before.
so. I wouldn't be standing here right now if my backyard didn't just get destroyed.
But
So
So,
we did leave really, we stayed out of your backyard, but what you consider that little tree line, yeah, we tore it up, but we've seeded it, leveled it. We did leave a few small trees right on the ditch bank that it'd be years and years before they'd ever be a problem.
you bought the property knowing the easement was 75 feet, I hope.
that's false.
I'm not in favor of, I'd like to keep it at 75, but that's my opinion.
In my initial discussion, I understood that the window was suggesting the 40. I feel comfortable with that. To bring it down to 25, our methods and what we do, what the city does with their dishes are entirely different. They could be almost right on top of as long as they go deep enough, they can be on top of things where we have to dip and we have to brush, and that's a little bit different than what they do. So, what kind of process do we have to advertise if we do reduce an easement? What is it?
You just vote on it today.
We could just vote on.
I was wanting Wendell to be here. I thought he was gonna come in support of this.
Well, we've had problems before,
Well, they're doing the work within,
not with you.
yeah.
If it's at,
Okay.
Be the next owner.
if it's at,
Not you,
if
the
it's
next
at,
owner.
They're doing the work within the 25 right now. I mean, they got an excavator through there, I would imagine. I mean, what do you need another 15 feet outside of that? I mean, that's, we're,
Trees
Just
grow,
spread the dirt.
so,
trees
all the
grow.
dirt's in Wendell's field. All the dirt that they took out. that's
Throw the
all.
dirt across the ditch.
yeah, we hauled the dirt off because it really was gonna be too much to try and spread it all and landscape it. Was gonna be a lot more costly than just to haul it out with a truck and put it back in the farm field where it came from.
So if you're doing that, 25 is probably wide enough, isn't it?
Not really.
But if you had a 25-foot easement, then you'd want to set your pine trees back from that, so when they grow, they wouldn't be in the 25 feet for,
Yeah, and that's what we measured that out, and it came to where that brush line is. And so, yeah, to plant them on that line would have been sufficient. But if I'm gonna lose another 15 feet, then,
you and Wendell measured that out, and he told me he was okay with it.
yeah.
But he's not here.
Reported.
Not that I doubt your word, but Wendell's not here
Yeah.
to confirm. We've run into this problem before.
We've had problems down through there because it's
You're,
like.
you're the owner now, but next year there may be a new owner.
Well, the whole point of this is I don't want to sell my property. And I have no doubt that I'm gonna outlive every single person on this board.
That probably-
So, I believe that, my trees are a little bit more important than about anything else at this point. That's the reason we bought the house was because of the backyard. We would have never bought this house otherwise. And then next thing I know,
It has privacy on both sides of the ditch. Now, the other ditch, we are working on the path of least resistance, which is the other side, so that's saving you those trees, so at least that's been good for you.
yeah, instead of at 25, I'm happy because the work that's being done has been done within the 25. You're talking a dump truck, an excavator, what else did they bring back there? A couple different things. It's all been done within the 25.
They done this by hand.
No.
Well, they had an excavator in there, but they come in and cut the trees by hand, didn't they?
Some, but not many.
Yeah, it's skid steer with a mulcher on the front.
Shoot a lot of it up.
So, yeah, the work that is done currently is done within that 25 feet.
We just approved up on that, isn't it, what, pool?
Yeah.
Pool 25, and it's already on this.
Vince got put at 30.
Now, on school, deal was 35 feet,
I don't know, but it's
35.
not a problem.
But they put the pool in, and the outside of the pool's on the line, then they put a
Seen it back.
Well, we've already got a pool, so I'm not gonna put in another. So,
And his is out of the way.
But that,
We also had a whole harmless agreement on that, didn't we? That
Yeah.
if there were cracks or things that would happen, it would be their cost, their fault.
This pool's far enough back, we don't need a whole harmless agreement, but it would never be damaged by equipment going through there.
I'm not, we're under 40.
I'm not either. And that's not, we got the 75.
If he puts them in there, but, if we have
Once
to go
once
through
it's
there,
in there, it's furnace.
goes up there, drains a bunch of water around, okay?
It's gonna have to be maintained. Costs more to haul the dirt out if you gotta haul it out, if you can get it hauled out.
well, the concerns that you're talking about right now have already been done
Yeah, but
within the 25 feet.
But-
That's been, what do we need an extra 15 feet for? Because you're coming through my trees again if we need another one.
well, you'll need it. If you keep it long enough, we'll be working on it again.
So the last clean out was what, 1993? I think it was. Do you remember? I think it's been 20 years. So I would imagine another 20 years.
Well,
Like 20 years of big.
But I don't think it ever been done down through you. As far as,
I would doubt it because they would have to do it by hand because of all the trees that were there. So,
Another expense. But hands, not expense, you can't use an excavator, so. That's the reason I'm
well,
against.
they had to have a small excavator
Yeah.
to do it.
that was
Full size tractor, bid that, and then decided it's too much work and he didn't want it to come back and bid the second time.
yeah, they had a regular about average size excavator that was able to get through this time. And that the window approved the path. He wants to keep it bush hogged and keep it clear for future access. He approved the path we ended up with on this gentleman.
Seen it, so I'm not making any comments.
Seen enough that we.
Yeah.
Lower, and there's a problem. Because the next thing you know, they'll stick a shed in the. There.
Not saying that you will.
I'm not
The
saying
next
you
one.
will. We know what we've had to deal with in the past. And they'll stick a shed in, they'll still trees and have a garden in there and
Fence,
fence.
Yes, Remy.
From what I understood when we were out there, Mark, Wendell was okay with the 40 foot, is what my understanding was from Wendell.
My understanding as well. Now, I'm trying to use the wisdom of Solomon. I don't think I've got it. If I make everybody mad, maybe I'll make everybody happy too. How about, did we say that we gave Joe a 35?
No,
What did we?
I thought it was 25 or 30.
we haven't given up 25.
It was 30 then.
I think that we try and split that hair, that situation, and we set a precedent with him. So we don't want to change the precedent that we already set. I would think whatever that amount was, that we ought to use that amount for Mr. Bergen.
Well, we changed all that down.
30 would be just a little bit behind the tree line, the trees that you did get left.
I'm not gonna split hairs of 5 feet. I mean, if we're gonna
As
do
I
30,
recall, I voted against that too.
I think he did.
So I'm being consistent. It's not, I got anything against him.
Yep.
I just
No.
just run into problems every time we reduce the easement.
So that would be my compromise recommendation.
For
It's gonna fail. Cause I've got 30.
Would you want to try and call Wendell real quick?
You want me to?
I don't think he
Put
can.
it up enough next meeting, make sure windows here.
I've been trying to talk to him for 3 days.
Table up.
We are sort of in a deadlock
Yeah.
if we're looking at a compromise 30 and you guys are still at 40. We probably need to get Pat here so we can have a tiebreaker. You've made your appeal and we're deadlocked right now. So if you don't mind, we will bring it back at our next session when we have our fifth member here.
You didn't want any more than bills. You didn't want any more than bills at the next meeting.
Well, if we've got,
Just
if we've got all five of us, let's,
reminding you.
I appreciate that. I appreciate that.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
I'm all right going off 75. I'll go forward.
How about, Sinai Creek, Steve Smith? Please join us, sir.
This gentleman is on the end of Josina, right before Fox Acres. There's an old county tile crosses here. He's run horses in here before. It's been fixed numerous times over the years. There's 14,000 in the fund. He's got some estimates from some contractors to replace this new. This was clay, put in 1897. Our records say 12, 15, and 18 inch. I'm sure it's probably a 12 or 10 up through you. And then you, Mark, you've got a drawing in front of you.
What section of the country is this?
This is Josina Creek, just south of 600 north.
Between the Grove Road and State Road 15.
The Fox Acres Pond outlets onto his property.
I know where Fox Acres is.
Well, the Fox Acre Pond is not exactly on my property. It's part of Fox Station
Right,
Development.
it outlets across the
Yeah.
property lines.
Yeah.
Everybody's got it now.
That particular pond created a nightmare for a lot of people, even some of the homeowners out there.
Quonset is over here.
We was up in this area here for the last few years.
We've done some work on Josina, but not this section.
Yeah.
We fixed it along the road.
The Glessner's is over here.
And I'm sure this tile is bad downstream. If they're fixing it, they're not turning the bill in, people that's farming it. But did you get some cost estimates?
I did. These two.
Give them the chairman there and pass them down.
We got three estimates. It's a pretty big spread on the estimates, but amazingly enough, the lower estimate provided by the Bragg people is the one we would like to go with if it's approved. We've had Braggs do work for us before, and they've done good quality stuff.
And I did talk to Eric Bragg about
You
it.
did, thank you. Yeah, it's gotten so bad over there that spot repairing is no longer an option because it's like every 10 feet, I've got another hole. We had to get rid of horses for a couple of different reasons, and the condition of that field tile is one of them. Got a whole pasture I can't use, can't enjoy it.
Is this up towards the head of this thing? Where's this drain out at?
It drains to the west and, you know, the money's traditionally been spent on the open ditch down on, the Charles McElwain Farm
Yeah.
in that area.
It's open down there.
Then go-
Travis?
Yeah, and then down through Dwayne Phipps. That's the last place we spent quite a bit of money on cleaning it out. The open ditch is in good shape. This does count tributary tiles, which is about 3 tiles. They're also included in the watershed.
Charles had some problems up there with that open ditches thing here.
Well, he talked about Medicina, putting it on maintenance, but nobody's petitioned us yet.
That flooding back there on that portion of my property coming over from the Fox Station Development's pond. It's a virtual river back there that sits for a long time after good heavy rain. And I kid you not, I've gone out there in my pasture and took fish off my property that come out of that pond. Okay, so and that field tile's just getting worse because I don't have any field tile to help alleviate that flow.
Have you got an outlet?
Well, just the field tile, the outlet that we had there. I don't even know what Fox Station thought the outlet should be when they just tied up the field tile.
Who's clear up to that pond or not, Fox Station.
Yeah.
It goes up and there's an inlet or something for the
Just an
overflow.
overflow.
And then at the other end of Fox Station, they talked about vacating that, but they never, I went back in their research and history, they never actually vacated. So we've maintained that before too. It's broke down in the side ditch.
Up there.
And eventually, I'd like to see it all replaced new coming into the pond. And yeah, I know there's problems downstream. But the one from Bragg is $9,281.
If you go with the 12-inch, I'm not sure if it's 10 or 12-inch field tile going through there now, but it's all clay and it's all busted up.
See, the record stopped at 12, so it's a good chance it is a 12.
Okay.
You know. The other price is about 21,000 from Dave's Excavating. And 12,500 from Sullivan's Excavating. Like I said, you know, he's been paying ditch taxes for years. That money all gets spent about a mile and a half downstream from him. So this would be a good way to fix this problem. Prove this for Bragg Excavating. I have a whole watershed map. You guys like to pass this around. Made X about where he's at. This way's west.
This, the X.
Right here is where he's at. Do this Troyer tie. Here's the open ditch. That's right. He's over clear at the right hand of the picture.
I know where he is.
Okay.
How much does it now, how much does this watershed bring in every year?
Well, you could have some.
There's 14,000 in the fund. It brings in 1,200 in the fall. I don't, what does it bring in a year, Mary? Mary's got that on her computer.
3,500 or something.
And it's been a couple of years ago since we spent a big chunk downstream on the Dwayne Phelps's property. And it's in good shape going, east of the Josina Open Ditch is in good shape going east of the state road.
We have a decent draw. We have topped out.
Move that we go with the Bragg excavating bid for this job.
Second.
Motion, Mr. Cox, second, Mr. Goff. I think I wrote down $9,281.
That's what I wrote down.
Yeah.
Okay. Any other discussion on that?
How much did it bring in a year, Mary?
3723.
3723 is what it brings in a year. It is a small watershed, but the open ditch is in good shape, so money will build back up for the next request.
But if it's not a 12, it'd be less than that, right?
Right.
What if it's a 14?
Okay, he says same as above, except if it's a 12, it's gonna be 9,281. If it's a 10, it's gonna be 8,201.
What if it's 14?
Well, if we need to go clear to the pond eventually, you better put a 12 in,
Mhm.
right?
Yeah.
It goes to the pond.
Huh?
It goes to the pond.
Well, but if it needs work too,
It would be the outlet of the pond.
yeah.
I just know the record card stopped at a 12. And it is a county drain.
We're assuming that it's going to run 12.
Yeah.
Right.
Let's put a 12 there.
Yeah.
The 12 that works will be better than 14. that
Yeah.
doesn't work if it has to.
Yeah. In theory.
Any more discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor would say aye.
Aye.
Aye. I think we're unanimous.
I'm sorry.
Thank you very much.
I did.
Even
You give Eric a call and tell him to put it on his list,
I will do that. Thank you, sir.
and I'll back you.
Next up, we have Middle Fork, Steve Comer.
Talked to Jim Todd, I think a week and a half ago. Like to have permission to make a crossing through Middle Fork Ditch on the east side of the LaPala property in section 1 of Green Township.
I wasn't quite for sure. I've got a map of it, but I wasn't quite for sure where you wanted it.
Almost, it needs to be the far east side of that property. That property, the ditch kind of turns into a pond in that area. It gets wide if you go very far west of that east property line.
Okay.
Okay. It's outlined here where that happens.
Okay.
That's what the deal is. You can see that opens up into the. I think it's really wide.
Real gravel pit or something.
I'm looking at it on gravel pit.
Talk to Steve, I know now where it's going to go. He's aware, because he's got a lot of ground east, the water comes out up there. He's not gonna block his own water off.
What kind of crossing you put in? Drive-through or?
Drive through.
I'll go for a drive-through.
Yeah.
Make it wide enough.
Like.
Twice as wide as you want.
That's not a problem.
Because it's never big enough.
Right.
At your cost, right?
Yes.
And to maintain it at its cost.
Well, that's a county line road up there, right?
That's that.
That's on the county line road.
Yes.
Just north of county line. And, Cindy and Raymond are working on the old records to come up with a new, watershed with names and addresses, because there is interest to put Middle Fork as one of the few remaining ditches that's not on maintenance, that and Polywalk and the Waters. It involved a couple other counties, probably need to set a joint board up, but we need to get our watershed defined first before we next step. You'd have to carry a petition, try to get 10% of the affected acreage.
Right. Not something I want to do, it needs to be done.
He also would like to dip out on the northern end of this, and you guys could probably give him permission today to go ahead and do the dredging on that at his expense, north of the campground.
Right. Basically, if I did that project, it'd be from 600 west to 1100 south.
And that's your own property?
That is my mother's property, yes.
Okay.
The trees are all clear.
Yeah, the trees are cut, but there's actually no ditch there hardly at all. It's silted in.
It is silted in bad. We had a field tile we fixed last spring. We had to run a pump for like half a day to get the water down in the ditch enough.
So you could work on it.
So we could work on it. Previous years, we were in there, okay, let's go to the ditch. Let's let this water go down. We go back out in the field, the water actually came up.
So we could give him the okay, to work in the ditch easement, you know, his expense on that problem too today.
I make a motion to, we let him put the crossing in, and that he wants to work upstream. It's on his property at his expense. Let him do it.
Oh, second.
Okay,
You made that motion.
yeah,
The only thing is, when he does it, he wants to make sure it's wide enough.
yeah.
I'm sure he will. Kenny, seconded that. Any other discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor would say aye.
Aye.
Aye, is carried unanimous.
Thank you.
Thank you. Jim, do we have any other new business prior to our public hearing?
No.
Ready? All right, we're going to move to public hearing, reference Hummel Creek. And we will be taking testimony, pro and con here in just a moment. The basic protocol is we'll have our surveyor give us a brief history of the ditch. And then after we've asked any questions as a board, we'll open up the public hearing for For those who would like to speak concerning the issue, I will note that the board has read the objections of those who sent in. And if you would like to speak again, please remind us of your name, your address, and your affected acreage to help us as well. And then we'll, after we hear from both sides, we'll close it and put it in the hands of the board. So, Jim, will you give us the background?
This ditch was made a Lincoln County ditch through the court system in 1879. And it's one of the few ditches that's never been, maintenance has never been applied. The board got requested a few years ago, but we were in litigation of an obstruction south of Bocock. We couldn't charge the maintenance and work on it and bring more water down to the obstruction without flooding people. So that's why it's been on hold for a few years.
With board quality. Go ahead.
There's 4,639 acres in the watershed,
I'll talk at you later. Okay.
159 homes. And the plan today was to put it on annual maintenance at a lower rate. Some of our ditches are higher rate than this, but that would be at $5 an acre with a $50 per home site and $50 commercial site with a $10 minimum. And this is a 4-year collection, but the 4-year collection, if you're spending money out of that fund every year, then it's a continuous collection. If you ever got enough work done on it, and what it would collect in 1 year, once it goes 4 times that amount, it could periodically shut off. And that's, I pay on Luger, Big Pipe Creek. It shuts off once in a while. I also pay on, Taylor Creek, a $5 an acre and a $50 home site myself. But, out of the objections that we did receive, and I did read all those, and some people had some good points. Total home sites, out of the 159 home sites, only 5 home sites objected, which is only 3.14% of the homes. And the total acres out of the 4,639 was 124 acres, which is only 2.67%. So it looks like a lot of people out there are in favor of this. What would happen if the money would start being collected next year at tax time? They would have to wait until fall. And it's going to bring in $31,494 a year. And in the fall, the first thing we would do is start taking out log jams and obstructions downstream. But it is going to take care of the tributaries, which the upper ends of them will need dredged eventually to free up any farm tile that would need drainage. It was talk about, if you make this a higher assessment, with this lower assessment, it's going to take a while for the money to accumulate. Every year we'll be answering questions like, once people get to paying a tax on it and a tree falls in, they'll call us and we look at them individually. But if it was to pass, we'll be inspecting, we'll send out letters to everybody. Surveyor's office, on behalf of the drainage board, will be inspecting the ditch and making a list of the problem spots. You know, the 75-foot easement is from both sides of the ditch. And, you know, we can open it up to pros and cons now.
I think that we also need to just let everybody at the public hearing know that the obstruction that was being cared for out of a legal matter will not be assessed to them.
Correct.
That is not on the docket at all. That is a
So
entirely
what
separate
happens to
matter.
that money that we're spread now?
What we
We just
are
write
not
it off?
getting back, we have to absorb that cost.
That was our litigation to get the pipes moved.
So,
So do we just write it off and it disappears off the
It
account?
comes out of general drain improvement fund as lost money.
it's a lost money.
We're trying to recoup some
We
through
will,
the owner.
yeah, we will in the future maybe even ask the county council for some of that money that we can put back in since it was a loss. But it will not be attached to this proposal. Okay, any other clarifications we need from our? Right, we will open up a public hearing for discussion. If you would like to make a comment, pro or con, we invite you to step up to the podium. Again, we'll need your name, your address, and affected acreage, and that'll help us. So please feel free to step up.
Brian King, 13008 Overview Drive in Fishers, Indiana. In deference to your percentage of objections based on acreage. Myself and three of my brothers represent about 10% of that acreage, and we all object to this. For 70 years or more, there's been, like you said, no drainage, no maintenance done on this ditch, and it's been working fine. So we're kind of perplexed on why now, when we don't see any flooding, we have no issues. We're seeing all this activity coming place. So that's one of the questions. Another question I had was, how many complaints have you had about flooding along Hummel Creek in those 70 years?
Only the people close to the obstruction. We, a couple of years before the obstruction was noticed, we had a petition from landowners requesting maintenance of the creek. The upper end, the farm ground does drain pretty good. That's why we put it at $5 an acre. That could be lower today to $3. Luger Creek is $3. Smaller the watershed, you know, if we make it a lower, the money's just got to build up before a whole lot could be done. But, you know, it was even mentioned some of the open ditches pay $10 an acre, $20 an acre. But we wanted to hear from people. The whole purpose of the public hearing is to hear your input before the decision is made. That's why the notices was sent out, and I would have thought we'd have heard from a lot more people. This ditch has 40 feet of fall where a lot of the county is flat and relies on the open ditch. It has to work and has to be dug out regular. This pretty much keeps itself flushed out. So you're right, not a whole lot of the farm ground is affected.
That's my objection to this.
You say you and your brothers own 10% of this
391 acres. I think it's either 391 or 394.
Okay.
But Mary didn't have a record of the brothers' objection to their parcels, did you?
No, Tom put in a objection, and we have talked collectively, so. Even though there may not be a written objection, verbally there is.
Well, we just want to hear everybody out, and we're not opposed to lowering it if that would appease the farmers.
Now, so if I'm hearing you correctly, you're going to do this. It's just a matter of how much money you're going to charge per acre.
Well, I don't vote, the board votes on it. So it's after we hear all the evidence, they're going to vote one way or another. We could turn this down, not put any maintenance on it, and let everybody go ahead and take care of it themselves. Or they could reduce the rate that you've got to send a notice to. I think the least home sites are $25. Luger Creek, because there's like 300 homes out there, they pay 10. It's 10, 25. Only Isabel and Rigdon, those places, they pay $100 a year home sites. I'm on Taylor Creek, I paid 50. I pay $5 an acre for my acreage and $50 for a home site. But that can be reduced today after we hear everybody out.
Has there been an engineering study on how much water is being restricted from these log jams that you're referring to?
We did some engineering from Christopher Burke Engineering in order to figure out the three pipes for holding back water.
Those have been cleared, correct?
Right, they've been cleared. But there's not been any engineering study on the ditch itself. If it got put on maintenance and you requested an engineer study, it would probably, the first year, they'd probably need about $60,000 for the engineers to study it.
Oh, I'm not requesting one. I'm just wondering if there's been one to
No.
justify putting this on maintenance.
No.
Since those obstructions have been removed, has there been issues with water flow? You just mentioned there was a significant fall from this head to the exit point.
No,
Haven't
been
had
dry
this
this
year.
year.
Nobody's, they've quit.
Well, not just this year, but in past years. I mean, there's been
The obstruction was just removed.
The only people that did call all the time was the people down by the pipes. The pipes that were holding back water.
So that area was the only place that was flooding, was right there with that.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
That was reported.
I think, and there's some other farmers here today that might need to speak, but I think the water stays in the ditch channel. I don't think when it gets into the farm ground, to my knowledge, it never jumps out of the channel and floods the farm ground.
That's my whole point. We don't see it.
I haven't
Keep our
seen it.
outlets clear. We don't see any silting. We don't see any filling up. So we're just kind of scratching our heads on why this keeps going.
On the upper end or the
Yes.
lower end?
We're on the upper end.
Cheers. In some of our open ditches, you know, in the old system, they're paying $1, $2, $3, $5, $10. Kenny has a lot of it at $10 an acre. Open ditches.
Takes money to work on.
If, you know, if everybody today wanted to lower it to $1, the work would just come slower. The first bit of work that needs done is go in and get all the dead trees out of the lower part. That's so much lower than you, it doesn't affect your farm ground. But the Indiana Drainage Code was developed in 65 to put everybody that's in the watershed as joint owners, to put money into a fund. Mary's the Drainage Board Secretary. She keeps track of the funds. The Drainage Board does the work and expends the money. I go look at your property when you have a complaint and try and fix the problem and bring it to the board. That's where we're at.
Any further questions? But I stand with my objection.
What would you be willing to pay, if anything?
As little as possible. To be honest.
Yeah.
What is your bottom dollar? Is it $1 an acre?
Yes.
That would be my bottom dollar then.
Zero's the bottom dollar.
No, not according to him. He just said $1.
Well, yeah, there's still ditches out there, open ditches that are $1.
Well, either that or you don't do anything with this. Don't put it on maintenance.
You know, if you don't put it up, $5 is cheap, okay? Because I tell you what, there's gonna have to be trees and stuff worked on down through there. And, it just takes money, okay? And if you wanna wait 5 years before you do something, make it $1, all right?
Let's see, I could see his objection because he's a neighbor of mine. Up where we are, there aren't any trees on it.
And there's no, and like I
The water
said,
gets wet.
our outlets are clear and we keep them clear, just for that reason.
But the people down
Right,
below have water problems.
right.
Well, is that because of the obstruction, which has now been removed, or is that just because of, for 70 or 80 years, or one was a commissioned as a county ditch? It's never been put on maintenance, so I'm struggling to understand why now it's become an issue. Is it because that obstruction was there and it
Ash
filtered
trees.
in?
Ash trees, if nothing else.
Well, the board doesn't automatically put something on maintenance. It takes the landowner's actions. And a petition was carried by, I know, Jerry Lozier and the Hickses. And, it was turned in shortly before we seen the obstruction. So we never acted on it until the obstruction got took out.
So the question I would have is that were the obstructions the cause of their concerns? And now that's been removed, those concerns are gonna go away.
I don't know.
I don't know that.
Are we gonna have floods, or are we gonna have inch of rains, or we're gonna have 4 or 5 inches? Can you tell us what we're gonna do weather-wise?
I've seen 4 or 5 inches of rain, I've seen 12 inches of rain, and I've seen our ground flooded, but I can't hold that against the ditch not being maintained. That's just more than the ground can carry.
Well, if you're gonna ditch some of your ground up there, if you ever decide you wanna ditch some of your ground, you're gonna have a place to go with it.
Understand?
And that's,
I think we just keep moving with testimony.
Yeah.
We're all ready.
Thank you for your time.
Who's next?
Hello, I'm Todd Spencer, and I'm talking about 2921 East, 550 North. I'm actually here representing my mother. It's her property, 34 acres, I believe. My question, and I really just have questions more than anything, what about the tributaries? Because we're clear up there north on those tributaries. Talking about 75 feet easement. Now, is that just for Hummel Creek? Or does that also include the
Now,
tributaries?
after we talked to you out there, we did research it and, the tributaries, this is, Pipe Creek and tributaries. Because, Hummel Creek, excuse me. Because otherwise the people in the tributaries would be paying a ditch tax, and if they want something done, they'd have to pay another tax. So the board has that right to include the tributaries. And, the one just south of your property is a legal easement drain from the road going south. So if this ditch tax gets put in, you know, I don't think you'd have to go maybe 1,000 feet or so.
His question was, is a 75-foot easement on that tributary?
It is.
yes.
On from the road north?
No. From the road north,
Road south.
through his property, it's a private drain. He's got a right to do what he wants to it.
So it's just from 550 north south,
Right.
south of 550. north.
That is part of the ditch tax system.
So this would not involve my mom's property at all, then really?
No, no.
The easement would.
The
The
easement,
tax would, the
the
easement would.
tax. Okay. And then as far as making a claim, our whole issue is south of 550 now,
Right.
because we've already cleaned out ours, spent
Mhm.
thousands of dollars clean out ours. So,
And the county road pipe's holding back about 1.5 foot of dead water.
yeah,
So he needs to go south of there on the county drain and do some brushing and dipping. How far, I don't know.
about 200 feet is what I think they told me, because it really starts to.
Drop off. But there's no way, if you do that before the maintenance is in, there's no way the county can reimburse the individual.
Right.
State Board of Accounts doesn't allow that. So you'd have to either do it on your own, have some temporary relief, or eventually request that whole channel to be dug and brushed.
Okay. But can I request that? It's not on my property.
You can request it
Even
because you're being
because I-
damaged by it, yes.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Are you for or against it?
I'm actually against it because we've already spent thousands and thousands of dollars to clean out our whole area. I mean, it's completely clean. There's no brush, no trees, no anything.
So if you did pay on it, you'd like the home site reduced to half? or
Yeah,
something?
nothing. At this point, there's no purpose for us to pay taxes because,
To get that ditch south of you cleaned.
well,
Get that.
we're gonna start doing that this winter because we're not gonna wait. Because the last time it flooded, I was just talking to my sisters, we were knee deep in the yard of the house. I mean, that's how bad it backs up. I mean, it's completely up into the neighbors' houses. So,
At some stage, they may want to spray up there.
When it gets cleaned out.
You get it cleaned out, you want to spray, want to spray.
Yeah, we've got about 40 miles on a spray program right now where the maintenance guys are allowed to come in and spray that easement to keep the brush down once you get cut.
Well, and I want to talk to the actual owner for any of that. But you're talking about if it's put on maintenance, that happens.
If you request it.
Thank you.
Who else? Don't be shy. I know folks want to talk. Question?
Mr. Brinkle, what's your opinion? Is your water getaway okay?
Our water gets away right now. Now, there are log jams all through that area. And of course, I, was responsible for a lot of that, or the guy before me. But it's terribly full of brush. And it needs to be put on maintenance. And I support $5 an acre because it needs brush. It's going to need to be sprayed, and there's areas that need to be dipped out. I mean, it's not completely backed up. I understand what Mr. King says. He's sitting on the top end and dumping down on us. So naturally, you'd be against it. But I supported the $5 an acre. I don't know. What do you say, Tom? I mean, you're in there all the time cleaning the brush out, trying to get the water moving.
$5 isn't very much.
And eventually it's gonna back up on to us up on the top end.
Yeah.
That zone, $5 don't go nowhere no more.
Here, I'll speak. Richard Cox, 2181 East, 600 North Marion. I'm on the board, but I am also on this ditch, so I can't vote. I'm for the $5 because it's nothing. And eventually it is gonna back up on us and our tiles aren't gonna work. It might not be in my lifetime, might not be in my kid's lifetime, but it will eventually fill up, be a problem, so. And I'm with Brian. I don't like paying to clean out down at Wilcox Road, but you gotta start someplace.
Keith Brinkle, 5400 East, 650 North, Van Buren, just off from 650 there. I'll be honest, I don't know a lot about ditch maintenance and so forth, but I'm in favor, of paying my portion to get that cleaned up. It was recently cleaned up. Farmer came in and cleaned that up several years back up where we live. But it's already filling in, as far as a lot of silt, a lot of brush. It just needs to be taken care of and sprayed. And I've been told multiple times as I kind of say, hey, what's going on here? That there's blockage downstream, that's causing all that. I just like to have it maintained and so I don't have a problem down the road.
Who else? I'm an auctioneer, but I'll say going once. We do not want to hold anybody back from sharing. Your input is important.
Pro and con.
Pro and con, yes, that's right.
It worries me that we didn't hear from a lot of these people, and I'm afraid they're gonna get their ditch tax next year and be surprised.
They got a notice. You can't force them to come in. You got a notice.
Got it.
Yeah, we didn't get hardly any return to
My
send.
name's Joe Miller, and I just purchased this property at 2218 East, 375 North. And I don't have any problems with the creek itself, other than when it rains, it I think there's a restriction with the property going up the hill, down the road, it covers the hill. Water fills the road and then floods the lower half of my property.
Which road was that?
It's, 375, 200. It's a lane, actually. It's a county road, but it's, marked 200. Up the hill. It's off of, 300.
Just to let you know that if we've got water over the road, highway department needs to get in on that action
The
too.
county has fixed a tile going from one pond and next into ours, but it's got a dip in it. I'm sure they tried to fix it and I don't think they fixed it. But,
We'll put that on the list and start.
but on around the curve, down the hill to another property, that's where it all flows into the creek. And when that is restricted, it floods my lower half of my property too. As far as the creek itself, it flows pretty good, really. But it's been doing that for years, I guess my dad was saying, so.
So are you pro, con? You want to see some type of middle ground? What do you think?
Whatever it takes to fix it, I mean, it don't matter really. I'm not objecting to $5 an acre. I own 15 acres there. Like I said, my wife and I just purchased the property and we're still learning.
Thank you. Anyone else? Right. Not hearing any other ones wanting to speak, we will close the public comment portion of the public hearing. We will bring it to the table in front of the board now, and gentlemen, what do you think?
Like $5 an acre, $50 an acre.
So you're thinking the advertised amount?
Yeah. But to tell you what, there's cleaning and stuff's got to be done down through there. There's no sense making any less than that. Waiting 5 years before you get enough money, but 5 years, then you.
It'll be a slow process at this rate.
Yeah. Yeah, $5 is much.
But hopefully the first year, next fall, we can get some of the major logs out of the way. Then when the money builds up, we can work on the branches.
Yeah.
Dredge the upper end.
Okay, so it's gotta be.
And the lower end, anywhere that we define a heavy erosion area where water's leaving and making a gouge in the ditch bank, we can rip wrap those areas and hold the sediment back. To make a rock chute that's gonna help the quality of the erosion too. So that will be spent on the job too.
Did you make a motion or just?
Yeah, I made a motion.
I'll second.
50,
Okay, there.
$50 on the side.
$5 an acre, $50 a home, $50 commercial, and 10 minimum. That's your motion. What is is it a 4 or 8 year? Four. It's a 4-year, assessment, okay? And, so we have a motion with support. Let's discuss that.
Well, according to what, I don't know if it had any objections, but we had 3.14 of the homes. 2.6, except, Mr. King says he and his brothers and sisters own 10% of it. That's still, that's
13%.
90% be in favor of it, since they're not rejected.
You made the motion.
I
You seconded it.
second it.
He's not gonna vote
I'm
because
abstaining.
he has to
I
abstain.
mean,
so.
you can look.
Ready for the questions?
All right. So you're ready to vote on the motion, which is the 50 an acre, 50 a home, 50, I'm sorry, 5 an acre, 50 a home,
Yeah.
50 commercial and $10 minimum. You got surprised there for a second, didn't you? Even Byron went, he's going, hey, what? All right. All those in favor would say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those abstaining?
Abstain.
We carried it 3-1 abstention, so we will move forward on the what the process is now will be, we'll put out a notice in the paper that has been carried.
Right.
There is a process for not remonstrance, objection after that. Is that correct?
Right.
So,
They have to have written and speak here to file.
okay. There is a process if you want to check that out. And,
It would be, if it's no more monsters, we'd be seeing on their tax bill next spring.
yes,
First, we'll see the tax bill.
Mr. Chairman,
yes, sir.
there is one thing, there's a notice, that we bought a farm across the road, the Robbins Farm, 80 acres. It's not on here. And it needs to be put on, I thought we had another $400 coming in.
Is it possible that notice went out to the previous owner?
It may have. Francis Robbins or Steve King.
Probably.
Would you hand that to Myron? Is that area, that's our current,
Oh, it's hard to see.
that's the current watershed, is your new property
Yeah,
in there? Okay,
yes, it is.
okay. All right,
What was that name again?
Robbins, Francis.
Francis Robbins.
What's the last name?
Robbins.
Because they both could be,
We've got a Robertson.
Or it could be King. More than likely, it's Robbins. That's who we bought it from 2 years ago.
We'll double check that.
all right. Gentlemen, are you aware of other business we need to?
You see,
Do
the
it.
guy still here. Did you want to handle it today or you want to?
We need to handle today.
It says
45.
and he says
25.
25.
That's 20.
And you know, we've got a little buffer. We didn't clear all we could have cleared. We left just maybe 3 or 4 feet of trees right there. So if he could get by with 30 feet,
But 35.
I'm not coming off 40.
So we're still.
I think we're still at an impasse.
I think we are.
well, let's get Pat here.
Yeah.
You guys think about it.
All right. I think that finishes our work, so we will entertain a motion. for
adjourn.
Motion, Mr. Cox.
That's this.
You're second.
Does this make?
No, it does not.
Okay.
All those in favor would say aye.
Second that.
Kenny second.
You made.
I made it. He seconded.
All right, thank you.
we don't have. County ditch.
Private.
Yeah, ours are all private. Yeah.